This movie is one of the most painful things I've seen, but not in a bad way. The Tale by Jennifer Fox is a film about a real situation she'd been in, where she was groomed as a child by her running coach. I'm not too informed on her personal experience outside of the film, so I don't know how accurate the film is to that experience, and I'll only be speaking my opinion of the film as a film. While reading the reviews, I noticed many people missing the point of the movie. People have argued that this movie is romanticizing grooming. One review on Rotten Tomatoes by Michael S. says, "It is one thing to speak about this kind of horror, it is something else entirely to attempt to make it look loving and romantic and presented with soft music. Can you seriously not see the difference?" They go on to say that this movie normalizes grooming, and that those who are into that will enjoy it. This movie is painful to watch, but that's the point. It's from the perspective of Jenny Fox, who was harmed by someone many years older than her, and she only realized it later in life. While some people online love to criticize victims of grooming because they don't realize, grooming is intended to look like regular love, especially to little kids who don't understand what grooming can look like and what to watch out for. A groomer will never make it clear to the kid that they are being groomed. That is not the point. And as she got older, she blocked it out of her mind and only went back to look through her memories when her family got concerned for her. When she looked through her memories, they were muddled and clouded, as she tried to convince herself she'd felt loved. Others have criticized this formatting. One 2.5-star review claimed, "The film is disjointed, the dialogue uneven. Casting a young Jenny, who looks nothing like what the adult Jenny would have looked like as a teen, was distracting, and strained credibility throughout," by George M. While the film changes a lot and does get distracting at times, that's part of the point. Credibility is supposed to be strained, because Jenny is an unreliable narrator.
You told me it was a good thing all these years.
An unreliable narrator gives the audience false information that may conflict with other given information. In this movie in particular, the narration style shows what your memories can become, and you spent so much of your life blocking them out. It's actually really disturbing to see how young Jenny was compared to how young she thought she'd been. It's one of the few things I've ever seen in a movie that genuinely makes me feel sick. Jenny had spent her whole life trying to justify what happened, making it seem romantic in her head so she could find some sort of peace or closure with herself.
I need to talk about it with someone who was there.
Now, I'm gonna go into more specific events in the movie, but I'm not gonna go too much into detail about the events, so there shouldn't be too many spoilers, but kind of vague spoilers. I think the movie does a great job portraying the effects this kind of abuse can have on your life. Both the physical effects and the mental effects, both immediate and prolonged. Jenny gets sick as a kid, and as an adult she argues with her family and her husband. She isn't ready to admit what had happened yet. Both of these events cause a lot of tension as child Jenny and adult Jenny start to come to an understanding of what's going on. These two events led to two bigger events, one for child Jenny and one for adult Jenny. Child Jenny finally stands up and stops going to see her running coach and his partner. This doesn't seem like too hard of a decision for her. She seems to justify it by telling herself he will always obsess over her. She tells herself he'll never forget her. She'll haunt him forever, and this will be her revenge on him. She wants to be loved and to feel special. As an adult, Jenny even tells her mom this. Adult Jenny also confronts her coach, who's now also much older. He's hosting a party and she interrupts it, screaming at him about what he did to her. On her way out, she goes to the bathroom and sits with her younger self. They have a conversation about the beliefs that child Jenny has held honestly up until this point. They finally come to an understanding that her running coach didn't do this because of Jenny. He did it because of who he was and who he probably continued to be. They realize she most likely wasn't the only one he abused. She wasn't special. There's a certain peace as they come to terms with that. I would say that this film pretty accurately describes and shows what the experience is like for most survivors. Not all of them, obviously. Everybody has a different story. I did notice while scrolling through reviews that some people were concerned for the child actress. While child acting can be tough, and I'm not sure exactly what happened behind the scenes because I obviously was not there, I don't see any reason this is worse than other child acting. They used an adult body double, had a whole team of support for the child actress, including a psychiatrist, her own mother, and none of the cues were sexual, and were all described creatively, platonically, and none of the scenes were filmed with the two of them together. They were all filmed separately. I would say, honestly, if anyone was uncomfortable on set, it was most likely the adults from what I've seen, because, they were worried about causing trauma for the child, and they obviously wanted to do everything they could to prevent that, and I personally think that they did do the right things. I really hope I am right about this, because I don't think anybody involved in this, whether you watched the movie, reviewed the movie, just heard about the movie, whether you were acting on it, whatever, I don't think anybody involved would want this kid to get hurt because of the movie, because that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie was to draw awareness to this situation and to be kind of a support for other people in that situation, in similar situations, not in the situation, but you know.